It's time for Let's Talk with Tara. Tara is a counseling coach who addresses real issues that plague many women today. Issues like church hurt, disappointment, anxiety, depression, and many more. You will be inspired, educated, and empowered on how to receive the help and healing needed to move forward. If you have real issues, then Tara has real solutions. Let's talk with Tara.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Great day. You are listening to the Let's Talk with Tara podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Tara T. Stallings, counselor, life coach, and spiritual consultant. I address real issues that plague your personal growth, relationships, families, spiritual development, health by providing education, empowering info and empowering inspiration information. Here I share nuggets of wisdom that will um, affect every aspect of your life, that will educate, empower, and inspire you to your next level of greatness. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, go ahead on and share and like and tag someone. Today is our podcast. It's every fourth Saturday of the month. You can always catch the replays on any of the platforms that um, provide podcast at Let's Talk Tara. So today, our topic uh, is actually a part two to sexual abuse. Why don't they tell? Why don't they tell? So, of course, if you listened to me last week, if you did last month, if you didn't catch it, make sure you go back and listen to it. We talked about sexual abuse. So, and why they don't talk about it in families, why they hide the truth. So today I want to go a little bit deeper for the time that we have and talk about why they don't tell. Why they don't tell. So, and I'm going to give you a little statistics, of course, but I'm going to also share a personal story with you. Why they don't tell. And when what we're talking about is children, young adults, and adults, why they don't tell. A lot of children and people delay telling that they have been sexually abused, sexually assaulted, and that's normal. Now, in this society, a lot of times we say, oh, if that happens, you should automatically tell. Well, sometimes people can't tell. And it's for various reasons. And we're going to share and explore that today. Sometimes a person feels ashamed. Sometimes they don't have the words to articulate it. Sometimes they are embarrassed. Sometimes they are in shock and they don't share. So today we're talking about SA, sexual abuse, why they don't tell. Why they don't tell. The most recent report, now this is statistics. Now we're not talking about the people that never talk. Statistics are what has been reported. So the most recent report accounting says this, and this is from the Office of National Statistics, shows that this is the most common reason, shame and embarrassment, why children don't tell. And this accounts for between 53 and 58%. And sometimes they don't recognize the other aspect of that is, as we're talking about a child or a young adult, they don't recognize that it is abuse. We talked about it a little bit last week. Children are oftentimes groomed prior to the abuse, and they may think this is normal. Gosh, I mean, I can just talk about a whole podcast with that itself. So many people that I have counseled, ministered to, that from the age of 3, from when they could remember, they had been groomed sexually. So when it was a full blown on sexual abuse, because it was still sexual abuse, they didn't know it was normal. Because remember now, your body is created to respond the way that it's going to respond. It doesn't know that, if you're 3, 5, 6, 10, that this is wrong. It doesn't know that. Your body is going to respond once it's being stimulated the way that it was created to respond. So let's talk about it a little bit more. And people don't tell. I'm gonna calm down because this is so I'm passionate about what I do and how to help people. Children don't tell. They don't, because a lot of times it feels good. They don't tell. They may know it's wrong, but it feels good. Their body is responding the way that it's supposed to respond. And even though it feels good, the body is being stimulated, it doesn't mean that they still want it. It doesn't mean that. Because a lot of times I've often heard, and with statistics shares, that when a child has been groomed, sexual abuse has become normal to them, even though they know it's not right, they don't want to share it because the people around them are subject to shaming them or blaming them. And sometimes they believe that people just won't believe them because prior to them sharing it, they may have had displayed some behavior patterns that were just not productive. And with those behavior patterns being not productive, sometimes people write off children, girls, boys as behavior problems. And when they share their truth, it's dismissed. Sadly, it's dismissed as, oh, well, you probably did something, or you're telling a lie, or you're just fast, all types of things that are miseducated that are placed on the victim. So let's go a little bit deeper. Why don't they tell? Sometimes they believe, well, nothing's going to be done. Nothing's going to be done. Oftentimes, they also believe that, well, it's going to break up their home. Maybe it's going to get worse if they tell. Is it going to cause problems in the home, with the family, with school, with church, with the community? What will happen to them? Sometimes the mindset is, I don't want to tell the police or get social services involved because it's going to break the family up, and they may take the risk of having to go into foster care. These are the things that the predators and children and young adults, that these things go through their mind for the reason why they don't tell. Sometimes it's simply because they're going to get blamed for being the victim. Sometimes they're simply, the fear is they feel like they're going to be blamed for being the victim. Other times they just feel embarrassed. That's embarrassing to share that you have been sexually abused or assaulted by a family member, by a friend, by anyone. That's so intimate that no one wants to talk. No one wants to talk about that. It's difficult sometimes for people just to talk about sex and what it is. just talk about, share their isms, their needs, their wants, just about sex, period. So can you imagine a child, a young adult, sharing this information that they have been victimized repeatedly from a family member, from a friend, from a community leader, from someone, a stranger, anyone, a teacher, anyone? This can be very difficult for a person, and this is why they don't tell, or when they tell, it's years later, because then they've even either gone through the pain too long and they can't bear it anymore, or they just get the courage to share their story. They get the courage to share their story. Your response to a person that has been abused can dramatically change that person's life. It can drastically and traumatically change that person's life. So often, I hear the stories of young adults that have been abused, sexually abused, and they share it with an adult, a guardian, and the first response is, "Are you sure you're telling the truth?" I don't think that person would do that. Do you know what this could mean if we share this information? These are responses that a person that's already been traumatized and receives when someone that they trust, they build up the courage to share it, and they tear them down like they're not being truthful or it's their fault, when they've already been dealing with the pain, the hurt, the shame, the guilt, the disgust of being a victim. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. I want to share a personal story as it relates to sexual abuse. I remember I was maybe about 15 years old. And I was fast. I'm just going to say that I was fast. I had already been having sex because I had already been fondled prior to becoming an adult. I had already been exposed to sexual abuse prior to that. So I remember after school, kids after school were hanging with some couple of guy friends that I thought were just friends. I thought that we were just cool. We were just friends. We laughed, we talked. It was nothing that was implicated. I thought that the person had any sexual feelings towards me or whatever. Now, mind you, we are two young teenagers. I think he was maybe about a year older than me. That doesn't matter. So we were at kind of after school, and I was there at their house, parents not home, drinking homemade wine. That's what it was. I never forget, it was homemade wine. And I became intoxicated. Off of the homemade wine. Well, as a result of me becoming intoxicated, he took advantage of me. Now, did I just fight off? No, I didn't. I did not fight off, but I did not want to have sex with him. But when it was happening to me, I had no voice. I knew what was happening. I didn't want it to happen. And I can't just share with you all the thoughts that were going through my head at that time, but I know I felt hopeless during that time. I felt hopeless. I felt, how did I get myself here? Why am I here? What could I do? And I remember after the assault, I got dressed, went home, and nothing was ever said. I still saw this person. I kind of shied away from them, but it never left me. That's why I'm sharing this story today. What happened to me, it affected me. Now, can I speak to this person now? Yeah, because I'm healed. But during the time, and it happened more than one time. I'm just going to be honest with you. It happened more than one time as I got older. Maybe I think twice I was older. But same thing. I felt like I had no voice. And then if I did say no or voiced my opinion or try to fight, the thought in my mind was, what's going to happen if I do? Are they going to hurt me? What's going to happen if I fight back? If I say no, what's going to happen? So a lot of times I'm sharing this story because me being in the situation that I was in, I was 15. I was already kind of what they say, grown or fast. I shouldn't have been out at hanging out at my friend's house, especially with them being boys. I definitely should not have been drinking any alcohol. So me sharing that information that I had been sexually assaulted, the first thing, and me being intoxicated, it was going to bring more shame. I felt like it was going to bring more shame and more pain back on me. So I never told anyone. So I can imagine if this happened to me many, many years ago and how I felt then. And I told you it happened not the same way, but kind of similar instances to me later on as an adult, how people feel now. Yes, wow. People don't, they assume that, well, you could just say something. No, sometimes you don't have the words to say. You don't know. You're in like a state of shock. You just don't know how to defend yourself. And if you dare to defend yourself, what will happen? So our topic is today, why they don't tell. They don't tell because sometimes they don't have a safe space. Sometimes they don't have the voice to tell. Sometimes because of everything else that's involved in the event or that led up to the event, all of those things play a part of the shame, the blame, the embarrassment for the victim, because they are still a victim. They are still a victim because no is no. And I'm going to share this. If a person gets you intoxicated, we talk about date rape all the time. People put medications in drinks so that they can rape you. That's sexual. That's abuse. They know what they're doing. But the victims don't tell because they feel like, oh, I put myself in this situation. Nobody puts themselves in a situation to be abused. No one does. Now, maybe you shouldn't be some places, you need to be cautious, but no is still no, it's still no, it's still no, and it's still no. No one should take advantage of you. That it's abuse. It's abuse. So today, as I close this segment of Let's Talk with Tara, why they don't tell. Why they don't tell. I want you to be mindful of creating a space. If you are a parent, if you are a loved one, creating a safe space for that person to share their truth. I don't care how old they are, how long it's been going on, because a lot of times they are in a state of shock. And a lot of times being in that state of shock, they become re-victimized. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to defend themselves. They feel hopeless. They feel hopeless. So if anyone of you are listening, or you know someone that has been a victim or that's a victim of sexual abuse, there is a hotline at 1-800-656-4673. That's 1-800-656-4673. Or you can reach out to me at 706-414-5537, and I can definitely help you overcome the trauma from sexual abuse. I want to thank you guys for listening to me and Let's Talk Tara, where I provide education, empowering, inspiration, information. I want you to remember to join me every fourth Saturday here on Let's Talk Tara, or you can check my website out at Tara T. Stallings Inc. for my upcoming events. You can find me on all my social media platforms at Let's Talk Tara. You guys, I will talk to you next week. Have a wonderful week.
Tara, we hope you've enjoyed this show. Remember, if you have real issues, then Tara has real solutions. Thanks for stopping by. See you.